Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name is Zsuzsi and welcome to today's cleaning video. So what's happening? There is a little bit of mess going on there behind me. That is my TBR pile. If you guys watched my very mini bookshelf tour, then you know that I keep my physical TBR in the fireplace. It is a mock fireplace, so it is all safe and good, like don't worry about that. And I'm using an old shoe rack as kind of like my shelving system, but it broke under the weight of the books, which is completely understandable. So I bought a trolley that I am going to use for my TBR and to organize my TBR a little bit. This video is more than just about like organizing my books, because I also want to show you every single book that I have on my physical TBR, and I want to discuss these books with you guys. All right, so first what I'm gonna do is grab the books, organize them by genre, and then I will pop back in and we can discuss the books and we can put them on my new cart. Okay, books are categorized and all in piles and basically ready to go to the cart. Okay, so first the fantasy, romance, and one sci-fi book that I have on my TBR. I am in love with Carissa Broadbent, you know, I don't make it into a secret, and I've been talking about her books for like, I don't know, ages, and I have the two books that I haven't read yet in the War of Lost Hearts series, Children of the Fallen Gods, that's volume 2, and then Mother of Death and Dawn, that's volume 3, and they are going right here the top. Oh, I assembled this trolley, and there's a reason why I don't have IKEA furniture, so I hope that this is not going to end up bad and injured. All right, the other books that I have from Carissa Broadbent in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and I am reading the first book. I think it's in the bedroom right now, so I'm not gonna grab that, but this is the second book in the series, The Ashes of the Star-Cursed King. I love Carissa Broadbent. Honestly, even if you're not into fantasy and even if you're not into romance and romantasy, whatever you name it, I still highly recommend her books. And I talked about these books like in other videos, so I don't want to go into too many details. The next book that I have on my physical TBR is The Shadow of Perseus by Claire Haywood. I got this book in the spring because this book was published this year. I am really into Greek myth retellings and I am really into Medusa, so of course I had to purchase this book. What I know is that this is the retelling of Perseus, but obviously this is a feminist Greek myth retelling, and we are following Perseus's journey through the three women in his life: his mother Danae, his wife Andromeda, and his victim Medusa. Isn't this one of the most gorgeous covers that you guys have ever seen? I really want to get to this book soon. Okay, the next book is a TJ Klune book, House in the Cerulean Sea. I always want to say a house on the Cerulean Sea because that makes more sense to me. Like, how can it be in the Cerulean Sea? Obviously, I am not understanding something. Could you please explain to me? Anyway, so this is the first book of TJ Klune, and everybody loved this book. I don't really find a negative review about this book. I never read anything from him. I am really interested in this book. It's about this guy who needs to go to an orphanage, and apparently there is a kid in this orphanage who is the Antichrist, or at least the kid believes that he is the Antichrist. And apparently it's very cozy, it's very wholesome, and everybody just adored this book. So I want to get to it soon. And the only sci-fi book that I have on my physical TBR is A Record of a Spaceborne Few by Becky Chambers. This is part of the Wayfarer series. That is one of my favorite sci-fi series, and Becky Chambers is definitely my favorite sci-fi author. Her sci-fi is not science driven, it's character driven, and the character development and the topics that she discusses in her books, it's amazing. Even if you're not a sci-fi fan, I can still recommend Becky Chambers books because they are very wholesome and they are very comforting. I adore everything that she writes. And this is the third book in the Wayfarer series. I read all the other books except this one, and this book, based on the premise, we are following a fleet, the Exodus fleet, that left a climate ravaged Earth, and they found a new home, a new planet, and a new alien species that took them in and taking care of them. That is my understanding. Becky Chambers always writes about acceptance and how we should, just all accept each other for who we are. So I am interested to see what she did in this book, because all the other 3 books in the series, that's like beautiful. Okay, now let's continue with the classics, because I only have 4 classics and kind of like I have the space for them on the top shelf. So I'm not going to go into into the plots when it comes to these classics, because we all know what these are about. One of them is Emma by Jane Austen. I really want to get to this book soon. And then the other one is The Picture of Dorian Gray. This is also on my September TBR, so I'm hoping that I will read it soon. The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. I bought all of these books in London when I was in London this May. And then the last one is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I love reading classics in the fall, so I think that I will get to all these 4 books soon. Oh my god, the biggest pile that I have, those are like non-fiction books, and this is crazy. I usually read a lot of non-fiction, but this year somehow it just didn't happen. So yeah, I have like a huge pile of non-fiction books that I need to somehow organize here. And the first book is The Butchering Art by Lindsay Fitzharris. This is also on my physical TBR, and this book is basically about the discovery of germs, bacteria, and viruses and fungi, and how the operating theaters in the 1800s functioned, and how Joseph Lister, a surgeon, stepped forward in the 1800s and advised his colleagues how to clean up themselves before surgeries and between surgeries, and how to clean the equipment that they were using during surgeries so they can decrease the mortality rate after surgery. So this is, just like I said, on my September TBR, and I cannot wait to get to this. And then the other book, this is a poetry, but I am going to put the poetries and the poetry collections and the non-fictions like basically in the same category. And this is a poetry collection, again on my September TBR, Fierce Fairy Tales by Nikita Gill. I am reading it and I am in love with this poetry collection. This is the feminist retelling of the different fairy tales that we all grew up listening to, and it's very, very interesting. I am at awe. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic poetry collection, and I bought this for $3 in a bookstore. It was on sale. I'm like, pfft. And the next book on my physical TBR is This Land is Our Land by Sukitu Mehta. This guy is just so incredibly smart. It is crazy. Zsuzsi. So of course I had to pick up his book. Like, this book is basically about immigration, and in this book he has multiple chapters, and in these chapters he discusses a lot about immigration, why immigration is happening, why people feel the need to immigrate, why immigrants are feared, and why immigrants actually should be welcomed. Yeah, I think that this is a very important topic to talk about and to learn more about. So yeah, very important book, of course, on my TBR. And then the other book is The Patriarchs by Angela Saini. I adored Inferior by Angela Saini. She is a scientific journalist basically, and her books, at least the two books that I know about, The Patriarchs and Inferior, they are very, very feminist books. And in this book, Angela Saini basically tries to understand, or tries to, you know, explain it to us how the patriarchy came to be, what is the origin of gender oppression. And this sounds really, really cool to me, and I cannot wait to get to this book. And the next book is Michelle Obama's The Light We Carry. I adored Becoming, so, you know, it was a no-brainer for me to pick up her other book, but obviously Becoming was a biography, and this book, people say that it's more like a self-help book, and Michelle Obama discusses a lot of issues in this book around race specifically. I haven't read it, so I cannot tell you yet, but I cannot wait to get to this book. Okay, and the next little book that I've had on my physical TBR, I don't know, for like 3-4 years now, so it's time to read it. That is The Last Malambo by Leila Guerrillo. I'm sorry, botching that name. And this is a non-fiction book basically about an Argentinian dance, the Malambo, that is compared to tap dance, and she is following in this book a couple of Malambo contestants and how they are preparing for this competition and what they do after they win a competition, because there are many rules in this competition, but one of them is when you win a championship, then you can never compete again. So I really want to get to it. I have to stop saying that. Ooh, I really want to get to it. And ooh, I'm really interested in this book. Obviously, that's why I bought it. Ooh, there's Shakespeare here. This have to go with the classics, obviously. And this is A Midsummer Night's Dream. Damn, I forgot about this book. Ooh, the next book. Yeah. The next book is The Emperor of All Melodies by Siddhartha Mukherjee. Now, being a scientist and being a cancer researcher, this book is basically my Bible, because this book is about the history of cancer. Everything, how we discovered cancer, how we developed the different, you know, detection methods for cancer. But this book is incredibly dry. I am 50% into this book. I stopped at the mammography section, where he's explaining how we actually developed mammography for breast cancer and tamoxifen treatment and all that. And this book is incredibly dry, so it is very hard for me to read this book. And also I cannot connect with the writing style of Siddhartha Mukherjee, because look, I hate saying this. I really do hate saying this, because Siddhartha Mukherjee is like, who am I to, you know, say anything about his work? His writing is very pretentious. And I don't know, like, I am really struggling with finishing this book, but I will finish this book because this is an incredibly important read, and I do recommend everybody to read this book. But very long, very dry, and very pretentious, but I need to read it. I basically need to read it. And the next book is 6 Feet Over by Mary Roach. I bought this book in Salem, actually, last October. And I bought this book because I I like the cover. I like the color. My favorite color is purple lilac. So I had to buy this book. But okay, besides the cover, I also really like Mary Roach's like writing style. I think that I can read her works very easily, and this book is basically, as the subtitle suggests, this is like science tackles the questions of afterlife. One of my favorite non-fiction books of all time is When Smoke Gets Into Your Eyes. I think it's by Caitlin Doughty, who is a mortician, and she is very death positive, and that is her memoir basically as a mortician. That book opened my eyes about a lot of issues in the death culture that we have in the Western world, and I adore that book. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit morbid. Anyways, and this sounds super similar to that, so I cannot wait to get to this book. The next book is The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. I have no idea. It is a very short nonfiction book, a very short self-help book that is basically about self-sabotage and how to stop sabotaging ourselves and our own happiness. So I read self-help books. I'm really into them. And the next book is The Science of Storytelling. I bought this book in Sydney. Oh my god, like years ago, and I still haven't read this book. As the title suggests, this is about the science of storytelling, but any kind of storytelling, writing and filmmaking as well. The best book on the craft of storytelling I've ever read, said Matt Haig. Why stories make us human and how to tell them better. That is what this book is about. There have been many attempts to understand what makes a good story, but few have used a scientific approach. That's all the description that I need. Like, this book is sold. But now I should really get to it after like years. Oh, I forgot about this book. Maybe I should read it in September. Stephen Hawking book, Brief Answers to the Big Questions. This is basically just a collection. This book was not written by him. It is just a collection of answers that he gave to certain questions. Like, for example, you know, what do you think? Is there a God? Or what's inside a black hole? Or should we colonize space? And I cannot believe I forgot about this book. Damn. I am super excited about this one. And the next nonfiction book is Unwinding Anxiety, which I also had on my TBR for a while now. And this book is just basically, it's written by a neuroscientist, I believe, and this book is just trying to explain the science behind anxiety, the loops that are formed in our heads, and how to break these very toxic cycles. So, considering that anxiety is the biggest epidemic like ever, I think that honestly we could all benefit from this book, but me, definitely. The next book is Inner Engineering by Sadhguru. I've never read anything from him, but this book is incredibly famous, as well as Karma. I do want to read this one before I read Karma. I think that anybody who is at least a little bit spiritual could benefit from this book. I think that he is massively intelligent. I don't necessarily agree with all of his views. That's not true, but I do believe that he is a very enlightened and intelligent individual, and I'm sure that he has some things to teach us. And as long as we're talking about Sadhguru and spiritualism, the next book that I have on my TBR, and I do want to get to this like pretty soon, is Buddhism Plain and Simple by Steve Hagen. I am really interested in the teachings of Buddhism, but honestly it's not very easy, and I feel that this is exactly what I need, a plain and simple guide to understand the basics of Buddhism. So I need to read this soon. And the last two books that I have on my nonfiction TBR is The Next Great Migration, which is also about the topic of immigration, the beauty of terror of life on the move. And this book has really good reviews, so I do want to read it. And I bought that book for like $2, so. And the last nonfiction book that I have on my TBR is The Evolution of God by Robert Wright. And this book was a Pulitzer Prize finalist. It is a real chunker, and I expect this to be a little bit of a dry books. Honestly, just looking up his books, every single one of them sounds so interesting, but I want to start with this one. And if I can connect with his writing, because how long is this book? Almost 500 pages. So if I can connect with his writing, that I am going to pick up all his other books. Everything is already looking like so much nicer and more organized, so I am already like happy with this. And the other big pile is all the fiction, contemporary fiction, and historical fiction, and thrillers and short story collection. Oh my god, I own a lot of books. I have 2 Elif Shafak books on my physical TBR, The 40 Rules of Love and The Architect's Apprentice. And before I say anything, like, look at these covers. That's one, and then this is the other one. These are gorgeous, and this one I actually bought in London, so you know, memories. Elif Shafak is one of my favorite authors. Like, she is an author for me. I mean, technically I've only read one book from her, The Island of Missing Trees, but honestly, that's one of my holy grails. It's a life-changing book. It's amazing. She writes historical fiction specifically, and I haven't read these books, so you know, not what I can say about them, but this one is about Rumi somehow, and how he became the incredibly famous poet that he is. This book is following an architect who was responsible, but not solely responsible, but kind of like took part in the building of the Taj Mahal, and his relationship with an apprentice, and how an elephant is responsible for like bringing them together and building a friendship or something like that. I don't think that Elif Shafak can do wrong, so honestly, next time when I am in a historical mood, I think I am going to pick up one of these books. Do I have anything else historical? Oh yeah, Ghost Empire by Richard Fiedler. Ghost Empire and also Sagaland. I want to read both of these books. Sagaland is about Iceland and the history of Iceland, but in fiction form. And Ghost Empire is all about Istanbul. So I really want to get to this one. Surprise. What else do we have here? So we have 2 like short story collections, Summer Days and Summer Nights, and then My True Love Gave to Me. This book, I started reading it in the summer because obviously the short story collection is the perfect vibe for the summer, but I couldn't finish it, so I'm gonna read it next summer, I guess. What I want to do with these short story collections is basically just to get to know the writing styles of all these incredibly famous authors like Leigh Bardugo, Liba Brake, Cassandra Clare, Holly Black. I've never read anything from these authors, and if I can really connect with their writing styles, then probably I will invest into buying their books, because they usually publish book series, so you know, you don't only have to commit to one book. You have to commit to multiple books when you deal with these authors. So first I just want to try them. And I also really like short stories. So this is the next summer's read. But this one, I do have it on my December TBR because it's like super Christmassy, and I do want to read it. The next book is The Complete Cosmic Comics by Italo Calvino, and this is kind of like a very old book, and I think this book got 12 short stories. So again, this is a collection, and these short stories all revolve around the universe and the creation of the universe. That is my understanding. So I do want to read this one. So this next book, I'm not gonna lie, I bought it for the cover because I think it's gorgeous, and this is The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida by Shenan Karunatilaka. I am so sorry if I'm botching that. And he is a Sri Lankan author, and apparently this is a very famous book that won many awards. I just didn't know about that. And I've never read anything from a Sri Lankan author, and I never read anything revolved around Sri Lankan history. So this sounds really interesting. Apparently in this book, Mali is a reporter, a war reporter specifically, and this book starts with his death. And upon his death, he is transferred into this celestial visa office where an officer offers him the chance to go back to life for like 7 days and try to find his killer and like who killed him, why they killed him, and also to reconnect with some people in his life. So this sounds really interesting, and soon I want to get to it. And this next one is Maame by Jessica George. This was a new release and I bought it in the spring, and you ask me, Zsuzsi, what is this cover? I have no idea. I ordered this book online and I ordered used version of it, and they sent me an uncorrected bound manuscript. And honestly, I don't know what this book is about anymore, and I'm not really interested in this. I don't think I am going to keep this. And the last two books that I have on my physical TBR, these are, one of them is Dark Academia, and I got this one in London, The Things We Do to Our Friends, and I bought it for 2 reasons. One, the cover is gorgeous, and two, I really wanted a Dark Academia book that is somehow taking place in Edinburgh, Scotland, because I bought this book in London because I didn't find it in Edinburgh, but I wanted something that I can connect with my Edinburgh and Scotland travel that I did in May, and I think that this book is perfect because the premise does sound really good. And this is about a French girl who moves to Edinburgh, and I think that she is a student at the University of Edinburgh, and she really wants to fit in with a group of people, a group of friends, but apparently there is a cost. Probably this is like the worst synopsis ever. It's so hard because I never read these books, so I don't know what they are about. And then the last book, and this is, I think, is a really creepy book, is The Doll Factory by Elizabeth McNeil. And again, I got this book when I was in London, and apparently there is a TV show about this book because this is a super famous book. I never watched it, so I don't know, and I don't want to watch it because I want to read the book. Based on what I read at the back and also what I gathered from the internet, this is, and this sounds really horroristic, but this book is about the obsession of a taxidermist with a beautiful girl who decides that that girl will be his one way or another. Honestly, sounds creepy. Oh, look how pretty it is! I'm so happy that I got the pink card. I think that this will give kind of like a pop of color to my reading corner. It desperately needs a little bit of color, so yay! Well, this is it, guys. This is the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed spending some time with me and cleaning up this mess that I created over the past few weeks. Let me know what books you have on your physical TBR that you think that based on this curated selection that I have, I should definitely read. Hit share, like, and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already done so, you are welcome here. If you want to check out a couple of my other videos, then I will link them here. And I see you soon in an upcoming video. Bye!